Is a years in the making 900-plus page presidential transition plan giving Team Trump a detailed blueprint for a potential second term. That blueprint would radically remake the federal government, if executed, with its stated goal being, quote, to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state.
It's Ken Harbaugh with Against All Enemies on the MeidasTouch Network. We have been sounding the alarm here about what a second term for Donald Trump would mean for the country. And we have been pointing to a detailed blueprint called Project 2025 that aims to dismantle key institutions and democratic safeguards. One of the major headwinds we face is the avalanche of right-wing disinformation and propaganda that seeks to distract Americans from the dangers our democracy faces from these radical MAGA Republicans. But one of our key advantages is that their plans are out in the open. And increasingly, the right-wing extremists behind them are proclaiming as loudly as they can what they intend to do if Donald Trump regains power. Here's the president of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts, broadcasting exactly what they hope to achieve should Donald Trump return to power.
Project 2025 is something that's going to transcend the next 4 years, the next 10 years. It really is, for the first time in the history of the conservative movement, the apparatus for policy and personnel. That's the most important thing to remember.
I have one follow-up. It's just that you have said that this plan is about institutionalizing Trumpism. So, because I also know you all, not just the president of the Heritage Foundation, you're also president of the Heritage Action, which is the political action committee. And so, is it tied to Trump or not?
I said the context for that comment to the New York Times was that the work of the Heritage Foundation was to institutionalize Trumpism. Trumpism as a new version of conservatism, a conservatism that recognizes that by every objective measure, the United States is weaker in 2024 than it was in 1984. We also happen to think that's reversible, by the way. We're ultimately optimists. And by institutionalizing Trumpism, what we're saying is that even though we are known as Ronald Reagan's think tank, I'm a son of the Reagan Revolution, I'm very proud of that, that's 40 years ago. And we need to understand what time it is in America. And right now, Donald Trump, whether someone likes it or not, I happen to like it, is the standard bearer for conservatism.
We've known for some time that Donald Trump owns the Republican Party. If the Heritage Foundation is any indication, he is on the verge of owning conservatism as a political movement as well. Maybe corrupting is a better description than owning, because there is very little about Donald Trump that resembles traditional conservatism. The Heritage Foundation, which used to be the standard bearer for Reagan-style conservatism, is all in for Trump. Here's a picture of the American flag that flew above their main office when the 34 guilty counts were handed down in the hush money case against Donald Trump. This upside-down American flag is what January 6th insurrectionists flew as they attacked our democracy. So it should come as no surprise that election denialism is at the core of the Heritage Foundation's new Trump-dominated philosophy.
Is your organization going to accept the results of the 2024 election, regardless of the outcome?
Yes, if there isn't massive fraud like there was in 2020.
What does that mean?
If there isn't massive fraud.
Do you believe that there was not massive fraud?
There was massive fraud. We have an election fraud database that has documented that over years. By the way, the Heritage Foundation has been concerned about election integrity for decades, not just about 2020. We've been documenting this problem for a very long time. And if one of the
I believe, according to the Heritage Foundation, sir, by your count, Heritage Foundation has done an investigation, and according to your count, there have been 1,513 proven instances of voter fraud across the United States since 1982.
Yeah, that's probably 1,513. Because they're very hard to document. And the Democrat Party is very good at fraud.
On one hand, I am deeply alarmed that groups like Heritage are so far advanced in planning how to undermine America's institutions. On the other, I am glad their ambition and arrogance is beginning to provoke a response. We tend to spend a lot of time on channels like this exposing the extremism of the incompetent, attention-seeking clowns that gravitate to Trump. You know them, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and Matt Gaetzes of the world, who care far less about passing laws and implementing policy than they do about getting noticed. And We're right to shine a light on their extremism because they literally represent, as elected representatives, a significant part of the Republican Party. But in some ways, they mask a deeper threat, which is the infrastructure and the massive funding apparatus behind a policy agenda that would destroy America as we know it. Project 2025 is a clear example of this. Like I said, they're not even trying to hide it. Here's a promotional video they put out about their plan.
On Inauguration Day,
the 4 years ahead
seems like an eternity.
It's not.
Because the left has engineered our government and institutions
to reject conservative ideology. The 2025 Presidential Transition Project
brings together conservative organizations
to ensure the policy and personnel are in place.
On January 20th, 2025.
Using 4 pillars,
we are laying the foundation
for the next president
to end Washington's bureaucracy and restore American prosperity.
The ambition of the Heritage Foundation is as shocking as it is expansive. Huge credit to John Oliver, who did a deep dive into the plan to expose what it lays out. Here's just a sample. Brace yourselves.
It also proposes eliminating the Head Start program, installing a pro-life task force to replace Biden's reproductive health care one, outlines plans to defund the DOJ, dismantle the FBI, and eliminate the Departments of Education and Commerce, and states that pornography should be outlawed and the people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned.
I don't think we can overemphasize just how extreme the architects of this plan are. They are driven by a deep-rooted sense that they have a divine mission, that the nation, all of us, need to adhere to their vision of what godliness requires. I'm going to leave you with this exchange, again with the president of the Heritage Foundation and chief architect of Project 2025, about a woman's right to choose.
You and the organization in this plan talks about changing the Department of Health and Human Services to the Department of Life. Do you think that women in America should be able to get an abortion if that is what their doctor says they need?
Abortion's not health care. I find it really interesting, if not worse, that you wouldn't support the change of the department name to the Department of Life. I thought we were all in support of life. We believe eminently in women's rights, and particularly women's rights in the womb. And so the real question that you should be asking
I just want to know, if I may, though, because I do ask the question.
Why aren't we talking about the people
who are
supporting legislation that abortion can happen until 3 days after the person's born? This is an absurd framing by this network.
That is an absurd assertion. As a person with an actual womb, I'm telling you that does not happen.
So
but let me just back up.
Legislators in California, Virginia, New York, who
Dr.
actually
Roberts,
filed those bills.
Does Heritage and Project 2025 believe that a woman should be able to have an abortion if her doctor says that she needs one? It's a yes or no question.
Abortion is not health care.
So
abortion
that is
is
a
the
no?
murder of a human being.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I have been so humbled by the support of this audience and the speed at which this show has grown. You are why I and the whole team here do this. If you're interested in bonus content, check out my Patreon page. It's free to sign up, and there's an option to donate as well. The link is right there and in the show notes. Thanks again.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.